No, not quite. Hello everyone, and welcome to Noita. Today, we are going to be talking about Reduced Lifetime. Reduced Lifetime is a pretty basic spell. It's a projectile modifier with 10 mana drain and 0.25 second cast delay in the negative, which is definitely quite nice. It's good for digging and that sort of thing, but the main draw of Reduced Lifetime is that it has a chance to make a spell infinite. Now, let me give you a quick explanation on how this works. It is a bug, but it has been around for quite a while. People say it gets fixed, but it doesn't. Here's how it works. Let's say a spell counts down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to 0. On 0, the spell is said to go away. What does Reduced Lifetime do? It has a chance to start that spell below 0. And when that happens, when it hits this little Goldilocks zone at -1, it has the chance to last forever because it won't check it for whatever odd reason. And when it's counting down, it'll obviously never hit 0 since it started in the negative. So let's find a couple ways to utilize this. With a single Reduced Lifetime, you can make a Spark Bolt infinite. You can make a Burst of Air infinite. You could make a Magic Arrow Timer infinite. So, why is this useful? Well, if you make this thing home around you, if you make it so when it hits an enemy, it'll never go away with the piercing, if you make it so when it touches a wall, it just digs through it, all of a sudden, you've got a little pet killing machine that will murder everything in its sight. It's very unique. I'll show you exactly what happens when we've got a basic setup here. And let me just set this up. So let's throw a couple of these on here. We only need one Reduced Lifetime. Boomerang is to keep it near me. Drilling Shot is so when it hits the ground, it won't go away. Piercing is so when it hits an enemy, it won't go away. This is all great. We're going to put a little bit of damage attached to the Spark Bolt, but most of it we're going to put on the trigger, because if we've got our trigger doing more damage, that is going to be absolutely immense. So let's track something down that should be pretty strong. Let's try out a Death Cross. That sounds pretty good. And we'll put a bunch of heavy shots on this Death Cross, so that way it deals damage before it explodes as well. We can throw on a damage field, and how about another homing, so that way it sticks to the enemy. Okay, great. So this is a very effective wand. By the way, if you're interested in tracking down this wand, this is the Tower Wand. I would highly recommend not going for a Reduced Lifetime build until you are in New Game Plus. It is very difficult to find the absolute basics of a infinite wand. Let me show you what I mean. So you need a homing, you need a boomerang, you need at least one Reduced Lifetime. You could use 3 and then you wouldn't need drilling and piercing, and then you could use a black hole instead. But this is the basic combination you need right here. And this is going to be your bread and butter. And you can see these are very expensive and rare spells for the most part. Reduced Lifetime is quite common, but the rest of these you're going to find in the later floors. So I would highly recommend holding off until later game to build a wand like this. Alright. So let's pull these off because they're completely unnecessary, and we'll throw some damage onto this Death Cross. We'll get firing, and I'll continue talking about Reduced Lifetime. All right, so let's just make something basic here. We'll throw our mana on so that way it can cast a little more often. We've got a recharge on there just in case, and we'll start firing this thing away. So, oh wow, that was very quick. All right. So these things have the chance to dud, as you can see. It is not reliable in any way. I would recommend using this wand in between towers. You can see what's going on with it here is it is being pulled between the homing and the boomerang. So there are two ways of dealing with this situation. If you're not dealing, or if you're not attacking an enemy, you can get closer, or you can get further away. Now you have to get pretty far, but you can see the boomerang slowly, my goodness. The boomerang slowly loses its pull. So there's definitely a couple of sweet spots here. And you can definitely tinker with this. I'm pretty sure if you used a boomerang perk, that would be weaker than the spell. And it would more than likely overpower it. Though I wouldn't recommend a boomerang perk, to be totally honest. There's definitely plenty of tinkering that can be done here. So, that is a super basic spell combination that we were able to make. This wand, like I said, it spawns every time. You can see there's another one. You can stack these things infinitely. So, the more of these you make, the more insane damage you're going to be able to put out. My goodness. I'm going to have to relocate sometime soon here. We'll give this a couple of real-world situations shortly here. Now then, we've got one working with a trigger. Well, let's say I didn't have a trigger. I could even make it as simple as this. Now, I'm going to have to remove these things, so give me one moment. Alright, so all I had to do was reload the game and those spells go away. You can also simply remove yourself from their general area. If you get far enough away from them, they will despawn. But the most reliable way is just to save and quit and restart, if you don't want your little pet around anymore. So, as you can see, we've just got a bunch of damage on a spark bolt here. And that's it. Let me see if I can fire this thing away. You can see it has quite a cast delay. And it is taking a little while. This is what it feels like a lot of the time to use a reduced lifetime one. Now, I should show you the signs to look for that you have hit the right threshold. So, we're actually going to swap over to a burst of air since it's not a trigger. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. But what you want to see when you're after a successful reduced lifetime weapon, an infinite wand, if you will, is absolutely nothing. So, you see, sometimes I get that little burst from damage field. It's somewhere in between actually firing the spell and not firing at all. That is exactly what you want to see. And a lot of the time you'll be like, oh, it's just not working. And then they'll give up. I've seen that many a time. But you just gotta fire away at it. And eventually, there you go. You've got your infinite spell. And I mean, it's hard to beat damage like this. It's really hard to beat damage like this in the vanilla game. And it's just downright unparalleled. And you can do all sorts of fantastic stuff. I really like this variant because of how beautifully quiet it is. A lot of these wands can be quite loud. But yeah, burst of air. You can see I've got a lineup of spells that actually work here. Magic arrow, timer. Bubble spark is an interesting case. Let me go over that really quick. So, bubble spark has a much longer duration than these other spells here. Let me show you what happens. So, when I'm firing this thing, oh great, it survived, but it's still going away. You can see it's got a very short lifetime. So, how are we going to fix that? Let's try adding on another reduced lifetime. You find these things scattered all over the place, so you don't need terribly many. You can see it's getting a little bit closer. Now, let's try adding on one more. Now then, we're going to fire this for just a little bit, see if we get any to come out. It doesn't look like we are. We're going to drop these off because it's not about the damage right now. We'll keep the damage field on just to see if it works. That's a very good visual indicator, by the way. And it's quite common. So you can see nothing's coming out. So, what do? The answer is Ping Pong Path. Ping Pong Path is one of the only two spells currently in the game that increases duration. And the other one is obviously increased duration. Note that increase and decrease duration work for different amounts of time. So you could combine those two as well with enough decreased durations, but increased duration is much more potent than decrease. So what we want to use is Ping Pong Path, because it's a nice middle ground. It increases just a little bit, and with any luck, maybe we can get this one working. You can see, there we go. We're getting the exact cast we're after, where sometimes the shot is leaving and other times it isn't. Let me just see here. Can I reduce the mana cost on this at all? Nope, that's pretty min-maxed already. Alright, well, we'll just stick with it then and see if we can get a shot out. But yeah, there's all sorts of little rules I've made for myself when I make infinite wands. I try to always have a secondary wand for fighting when I'm using one of these things, because they are exceptionally unreliable, as you can see. You know, if that window is too big, and there's only like a fraction of a second that you are able to get one of these shots to last forever, then it's not a reliable tool on its own, unless you're willing to spend a lot of time in the safety of the temple here. You can see we might have one. Yes, we do. Beautiful. Look at that. And let's see how it does. Yep, there you go. It's doing tons of damage. Now, keep in mind, we could put all sorts of crazy things on this. What if, for example, you wanted to do an absolute bare bones setup where this wand can go around and instantly kill everything. Let's say you're on New Game Plus 23 and you just want to be as efficient as possible with your frames. Throw a tentacle on there, put the freezing after this, the bubble spark with trigger. You want to do that because if you were to put the freezing before, then you're going to have a ton of particles, and you want to minimize those as much as possible in the later New Game Pluses. So freezing tentacle at this point is an instant kill, which is great. We don't need any other damage here, which is awesome. This is going to be a very efficient killing wand. And on top of that, Tentacle has the added benefit of sort of revealing to you at long distance where your shots are traveling. I actually really like combining Tentacle on trigger with an infinite wand because it helps me keep track of my shots. You'll see when I do a level demonstration how they will just go through the walls and murder everything, and oftentimes they'll wander off on their own and you have to go and track them down. Once again, Spark Bolt is a much less reliable tool than a lot of other spells. Let me try that again with a Spark Bolt with trigger, because that is my personal favorite. I love Spark Bolt with trigger. It's cheap, it's very accurate, it's relatively quick, and it's very common. So it's just a very excellent delivery tool. It's one of the best, in my personal opinion. You can see it is a very costly endeavor. You can find better wands, but the 25 cast tower wand, imagine how many ridiculous things you can put on this. I'm trying to keep it bare bones just to give you the idea of it, and we'll make some more complex things as we go. Okay, here we go. Let's just... No, not quite. Okay. Well then. Let me... Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Steven! Steven, help! Oh, okay, we're good. As you can see, that's a very large number, and it's gonna be tough to top that. Keep in mind that this thing is literally infinite health as well, so we will never be able to kill that. However, it did make for an excellent damage test. Okay. So, next on the list, why don't we try taking this through a level? Wow, first try, beautiful. Let's take this little baby out into the wild. And we need to either close the distance or get a little bit closer so this thing can actually do its job. Looks like he might just wander off on his own. That is his last mistake. Any moment now, it should come back to me. Either that or it goes on a little killing spree. We'll see which happens first. Let's see if we can fire off another shot here. Aha! You can see that tentacle firing out is a sign that it worked. So we've got 2 of these puppies alive now. That is fantastic, and we'll call them James 1 and 2. Come with me, James. So there's going to be random enemies kicking around, and they are not going to last long. This is New Game Plus. Keep that in mind. Also, that is a side effect of the tentacles. Oftentimes the tentacles can pull shots into you. It is exceptionally deadly. Watch out for that. Oh my. Oh my. Many things are dying. This is ideal. Let me just carry on down to the next level. Get them, James! Go! You can see, at times, the damage field is going to be doing the bulk of the work. When it gets further away from you, the boomerang is substantially less powerful, and it has a much easier time getting to enemies. The drill is also incredibly handy. My goodness. Alright. Seems that I've got 2 of them back. Let's just carry on our merry way. We've got a very simple black hole wand to help us through this situation. And we're just gonna keep going at it. Alright, and we've made it to the bottom. You can see, if you don't follow these shots around, they are pretty unreliable. You definitely have to make sure you let them guide you, or you have a different primary altogether. Also, if you're in a pinch and you don't have another primary, let's say you're just testing this out like I am, You can get close to the enemies, and it will still activate the shot a decent amount of the time. Note that you can't get infinites this way, though. But it is a way of defending yourself in a worst-case scenario. Alright, let's head down to the next level, and we'll see what we can do. So, let's go ahead and throw down these 2 extra reduced lifetimes. So, got a whole bunch of black holes. Black holes are amazing. They're super handy for travel, and you're going to have them all the time. They're just incredibly useful tools. So let's go ahead and make a pet black hole, shall we? So what we're going to do is we're going to have these 4 black holes here. We're going to go ahead and put on a damage field, just so they can deal some damage. We'll put on a heavy shot. Another really important aspect of an infinite spell is if it is going too fast, it's going to rocket outside of your loaded range. And when it does that, you are not going to be able to recover it, which is quite unfortunate. You definitely don't want that happening, so avoid things like accelerating shot. Heavy shot is really nice for slowing down the projectiles, and it makes it much easier to keep up with. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to place these all the way at the end, and we're going to place a couple of modifiers on here. I'm not sure if these are going to work. We've only got so many shots, but hopefully they will. If I could have a tentacling black hole, that would be amazing. Why not even just throw a freezing on there? Note that I don't need drilling shot or piercing shot anymore for black hole variant. We only need these reduced lifetimes. That's all we really need, alongside the boomerang, and you can throw on a homing here if you want. It's really up to you. But having these different modifiers available and applied, you can make your black holes do pretty incredible damage. And note that you can do this with a normal wand as well. I'm getting shot at, so we better get this party started. Get a couple of shots off. Nope, that one didn't work. You can see it's got a fair recharge time. Hopefully we can get one of these to work. We've only got 1 more shot. I'm doing 4 at a time, just to make it a little more convenient. Let's hope we get lucky. Unfortunate. So we're going to have to go on to the next floor. I'm just going to cut right to that. Alright. So I've made it down to the next floor. Thankfully I realized I didn't have melee immunity and I was able to reroll it in the shop. So, that would have actually killed me with Tentacler. Most definitely. You have to be careful what you put on here. Make sure you've got the right immunities for the corresponding tools you're using. For example, you need to have explosion proof and electricity immunity. If you're going to be using something like a lightning thrower or fireball thrower, you would need explosion and fire immunity. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And of course with Tentacler we'll need melee immunity. So, let's go ahead and give this a shot. And we've got 12 more shots. Normally it's about a 1 in 10. Obviously it can be more than that because it is a random chance. But we'll give this another attempt and see if we can get it working this time. Look at that. First try. So, let's bring this puppy for a little ride, see where it takes us. Oh my goodness. Well, I have a feeling it's murdering things. Yes, it is. Alright. You can see it's not doing quite as much damage as I would like, to be totally honest. I was hoping for a little bit more, but it sure is neat, isn't it? That's a lot of blood being generated from that little thing. You can see there is a lot of 4s coming from the force field damage. There is the odd 20 coming out from the tentacles. That's how much a tentacle does normally. It's definitely something you gotta experiment with, and I think that's the beauty of it, is the sky is the limit in this game. You can generate all sorts of absolutely insane tools. Alright, and now it's time for the grand finale. Let's try to make something truly, spectacularly overpowered. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to keep our lovely damage fields. We're going to use a spark bolt with trigger, and we're going to try out using some meteorites. Normally, meteors are limited, and that's part of what makes them not so great. With an infinite spell, even if you land 1 out of the 10 casts, that is going to last until that bolt goes away. So, that's just pretty darn amazing. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to put a whole bunch of damage on the meteor itself, so that way it's doing as much damage as possible. It's going to be glorious. I can't wait. I haven't even tried this just yet, but I'm really excited to see what kind of damage it's going to do. Obviously, quad shot won't be necessary since it's only activating a single spell, And why not just put some freezing on there? That's always some extra damage. And yeah, let's give this thing a shot. Or 10, we'll see. You can see it is quite costly. The more stuff you cram onto one of these wands, the less reliable it is. But that's the beauty of being able to set these wands up in these temples. Here we go. Alright, this thing is going to be a beast. I'm really excited to see what kind of damage this deals. Go for it. Hang on. We need to get a little bit further away. Keep in mind, that is just... Oh no. That is one of the downsides of it. Look at all those explosions of... I wouldn't recommend trying this one out without a little bit of explosion resistance, perhaps. I think this wraps everything up quite nicely. You can see infinite spells. They are quite spectacular, very unusual, and super fun to play around with. Make sure you give an infinite wand a try. You know, make sure you share with your friends and, you know, maybe follow my Twitch channel so you can see all sorts of crazy wands like these live at Aliasbot. And that's it. Just Aliasbot. Alright. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.